Hi, bankruptcy attorney Brian Barboza, and today I'm going to discuss perhaps some non-bankruptcy alternatives to debt relief, debt consolidation, debt settlement, etc., etc. Before we get started, if bankruptcy is something you do want to explore, please feel free to give me a call or go to my website, barbozalaw.com, book an appointment to speak with me for free directly through the website. Okay, so what are some non-bankruptcy options? So as a bankruptcy attorney, when I meet with people, of course, they're coming to visit with me because they have debts. And bankruptcy is one of the options we explore. But bankruptcy is not always going to be the best option. And for some people, it may not be an option at all. So I think it is important to make sure I communicate to people some potentially non-bankruptcy options to deal with their debts. And if they can avoid bankruptcy, great. If they can't, then I'm usually happy to help them. So first of all, some terminology that seems to get confused is debt settlement versus debt consolidation. So let's talk about those couple options. So first, let's talk about debt settlement. And sometimes you see on the TV all these ads about these companies that can help people get rid of their debt and et cetera, et cetera. Well, that's usually a company that's going to be doing what's called debt settlement. And debt settlement is literally where you just kind of start calling your creditors and you owe them, let's say $1,000, and you call them and say, I can only afford to pay you $400. Are you willing to take $400 and forgive the rest, settle the rest? That's debt settlement. You're literally calling your creditors and trying to settle the debts for less than what you owe. Okay. And honestly, there is nothing that can force, outside of bankruptcy, there's nothing that can force your creditors to accept any kind of settlement. Sometimes they're willing to. It depends on the company and kind of what their internal policy is. It also kind of depends on what your financial situation is, and they're going to do a little due diligence to determine if you're telling the truth. But nonetheless, there is nothing that forces those creditors to settle with you. So if these companies are telling you that they can settle your debts, what they should be saying is they could try to settle your debts. And maybe sometimes they are successful, but sometimes they're not. So that's what debt settlement is. Debt consolidation is where, for instance, let's say you owed $10,000 on credit cards and your interest rates are 29% interest. Well, perhaps if you have a relationship, let's say with a banking institution or a credit union or someone who can loan money, maybe they're willing to loan you the $10,000 to pay off your high interest rate credit cards, and they consolidate those debts into one loan for you. So now, instead of having, let's say, 4 or 5 credit cards at high interest rates, you have one loan for a much lower interest rate, which means the payment is going to be much more palatable and affordable. So that's what debt consolidation is. You're consolidating all your debts by getting a loan, paying all these other creditors off, and now you have one loan. It's all consolidated at a better interest rate. So those are the differences between debt settlement and debt consolidation. And so those are some non-bankruptcy alternatives. Sometimes when people will have, let's say, a lot of home equity, they might get a second mortgage on their home, a small second mortgage to pay off all this bad high interest rate debt. And that's kind of a form of debt consolidation too, because they took one loan out on their property, paid off this debt, amortized the bad debt now over 30 years at a better interest rate. So that's kind of a form of debt consolidation as well. So those are kind of the non-bankruptcy alternatives. The other one perhaps is contact your creditors and see if you can't come up with a new payment arrangement, maybe some different terms, but that's kind of a form of settlement as well. So those are kind of your non-bankruptcy options. Oftentimes, if people come with me and let's say to my office and they have like less than $10,000 worth of debt, then they don't really necessarily have a debt problem. They probably have an income problem. So perhaps that's a good time to talk about ways to maybe increase their income. Maybe get a second part-time job for a while to pay off this debt. Maybe, we have such a strong gig economy, maybe go do some Uber driving or those kind of gigs and create some cash flow and pay off this high interest debt. Because in that situation, it's an income problem, not a debt problem. So those are kind of reasons and ways maybe you avoid filing bankruptcy, or you think about trying to do those first before you decide to file bankruptcy. Just a couple tips there. Okay, so if debt and bankruptcy is something that you want to discuss or explore your options, please feel free to give me a call or go to my website, barbozalaw.com, book an appointment to speak with me for free directly through the website. As always, thank you for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. Hope you got something out of it, and have a good rest of your day. Take care. Bye.